Did you always think you'd be or stay in the family business of, and tell me if I'm saying this right, opticianry?
Yeah, I think so. My parents in the early days definitely tried to dissuade me from it. They had a different view on it. And at that time, they had a mom and pop shop. And so they didn't really see the big picture opportunity with the industry. But I grew up around the store and I just loved it. I would have to help a lot. My dad would pick me up from school, take me to work, and I'd be stuck with doing inventory and stuff like that. Some parts I hated, but at the same time, that's what kind of drove my love for eyewear because getting involved with the frames and just seeing how cool they were, it was always there. So I was really interested in it from the beginning. And when I went to college, I studied biopsychology and I emphasized vision sciences because I was actually thinking to potentially go to optometry school to add that degree into the family business. But shortly before, as I was applying to optometry schools, I realized that while I'm passionate about vision, and I think it's fascinating when you actually learn about it, the day-to-day job of being an optometrist was not exciting for me in terms of just seeing patients, and where I'm more into the business side of things and branding and marketing and creating something. And
Mhm.
so I switched gears at that point and focused on the opticianry and brand side.
Mhm. What was it like acquiring your family's business? Did it cause any rifts? Was it awkward? Were you not speaking to one or the other?
No, it's not. It wasn't like that, but the process was a long process that started from originally me starting to manage the business for my dad. Eventually, that just transitioned into me completely like running the company and with him being hands off. This is over 3, 4, 5, almost 5 year period of time, probably. And then eventually getting to the point where I fully took over and he exited. The biggest problem we had is that my father, and I love him so much, and I would always have such great times with him. But whenever it came to business, it was just we're both Tauruses and we both think we're right, but we have very different views on how things should be. And especially with me thinking more from a scaling perspective and growing while he's more mom and pop, just running the business the way that he's used to. And so we would just argue a lot about through the process that we can't work together essentially. And that's ultimately, I think, the final success in us creating that separation, him exiting, was that we butt heads too much and it's gonna be better this way.
Let me ask you this. I can imagine this. You're managing it for your dad, you're taking it over, you're trying to scale and grow, your mindset is there, but then you're increasing the value of the company that then you have to turn around and buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you ever think, okay, I'm not going to do this deal right now because it's going to really increase how much money I'm going to have to buy this for? Or did you do it in that traditional sense?
No, to me, I could have gone and just done my own thing, even in the eyewear industry, and completely done a separate thing. But in my mind, it was always the concept of my dad needs to retire. My family, my parents need to be able to retire. And really, by taking over the business, it's me securing a retirement for them. And it's me now taking the role. My dad is still the head of the family, but taking on the role as like head of the family. But I wasn't really overly concerned about whether I technically overpay or under because it's family at the end of the
Did
day.
you have a traditional business valuation and go through what you would in buying another business? Due
No,
diligence,
no. There was no, I knew the diligence because I knew the business.
books.
Yeah, I knew the book. It wasn't traditional and it was just more of a father's arrangement to just make sure everybody's comfortable, which is hard.
Yeah. Where did the name Alexander Doss come from?
So at the time of creating the brand and working on the original designs, going through that phase, really a key part of what we're making is it's not just another eyewear line. We're deeply rooted into opticianry, and the whole background comes from opticianry. So in making Alexander Daas, it's built not from a perspective of me being a design student that went to art school or design school, but really understanding proper fits, proper measurements, and each frame really being built for a face from an opticianry perspective. Das in Hebrew means knowledge, and it has a very nice ring to it. So I just thought it was a perfect fit because this line is being built from knowledge as opposed to, again, just a simple design.
You focus on glasses meant for people with narrow or petite faces, but do you also carry regular sized as well?
Yes, yeah. So when I first launched, one of the reasons that I decided to launch my own line was because I saw this gap in the market in the high-end independent boutique sector. There wasn't a lot of options for petite faces. I did some research and found that off the top of my head, I think it was like 14% of men fit this size category and 30%, 33% of women. So it's a good amount of people, but they're often stuck buying kids frames or spending 3 times as long with an optician to find something and then in the end just settling. And so I thought it was a great niche that needed attention. And so I launched the first collection, and the second collection really focused on that. So that's what we started with. But now, as we've produced more and expanded, we do sizes of all the different sizes. Especially, there was so much demand for some of our styles because of certain celebrities, and we needed to make sure that more people could fit in that look. So we started expanding too. So now we have a little bit of everything.
Okay, so you're not wearing glasses. What is going on?
I knew you were going to ask that. I don't have a prescription. My sight is still good, but I actually just had an eye exam a couple weeks ago because I'm starting to feel a little fatigued, and I think I'm about to make my first pair of usable prescription, more for the reading zone.
I made it to 49 years old with 20/20 vision, which is interesting because everyone in my family, every single person, my dad, my two brothers, my mom, their parents all wore glasses and wore them young. And I somehow got away with not having vision challenges.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of a shocker to me to now have to go to an eye exam every year and then experience the price of glasses.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, look, I got suckered into a very expensive pair. I don't even know who makes them.
Are they progressive lenses?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I have so many pairs of glasses. And, I wear sunglasses all the time, but even eyeglasses, because over the years I've fallen in love with so many frames. I'm like, I have to wear them, and
Yeah.
I'll
I mean,
make
it
them.
makes you look cool.
Yeah, no, it's just like the look. It's like a
Yeah.
different, just create a different persona. And I'll put Plano lenses in them. But the thing that happens, like I'll walk around and I'm fine, but then I sit down at the computer, and because I don't need them to correct my vision, they're technically obstructing my vision in a way. And so I'll start at the computer. I'm like, they're bothering me. And I take them off, and then I don't end up wearing them. And so I have all these pairs that I've made for myself over the years that I don't end up wearing because you leave them on the desk. So I'm excited to end up having a use for them. But now too, the other thing is like they've made, especially from those days, such advancements with the coatings, that especially the anti-reflective coating. There's a new one that just came out, I think, earlier March, and it's a new improved version. It's reducing the glare by 70% and the increased contrast. And so I've tried those. Actually, even reading correction, I can tell the difference that with that increased contrast, things look sharper to me. That can open up the door. It's expensive though, but it can open up the door to Plano lenses actually being helpful now.
Are you personally doing the design of the frames, or are you just overseeing? Are you a creative director?
All of the above. Yeah, I'm doing the design of the frames, and I have a production manager too that helps with the process. So I'm still very hands-on. I hope to eventually be more of overseeing the process versus being deeply rooted in the design process, because it is hard for me. Again, I come in with a proper knowledge and I know what I want to do and what fits I want to make, but I get overwhelmed sometimes between figuring out the color schemes that we want to come out with and this and that, because that's not really my brain, but it's fun though.
Where are they manufactured?
So we do manufacturing in Japan, and we just released a newer capsule collection, and that one is being made in China. So we have a little bit of a mix, but mostly in Japan. We've done some Italy too.
How has supply chain and shipping affected your business?
There have been some delays, but I wouldn't say anything that has a massive effect on us. There's the two parts, right? There's my production for my brand and our distribution. And for our retail stores, we carry many other brands. And with some of them, they're definitely more delayed than they ever were. Like we'll place an order, and now instead of getting the new styles in 2 or 3 months, literally they're showing up 7 months later sometimes with some of them. Or like half of it will arrive, but then half of it lingers over the next 6 to 7 months. So there's definitely a little bit of delay. But again, between all the selection and all the inventory that's actually out there, it's fine. Like the stores are still fully stocked. With my production, it's been pretty solid. When we made some movement with the factories, part of it was to get into having some extra options for making sure we don't have too many delays.
What is currently a bigger revenue driver for you, brick and mortar, retail, or e-commerce?
Brick and mortar retail, for sure. With e-commerce, I would say we're still trying to build it up, and I think there's more potential there, but we're not selling an inexpensive product. We're selling a expensive, but it is high quality, so it's worth what people pay for it. Value is there, but it's something where really just personal attention is required. People come to us for our styling expertise, the experience that they get in store with our team, and just in general. And so that price point, I think, is something easier for a lot of people, or it just makes more sense in person versus online. But at the same time, a lot of our business is the prescription side of it. So prescription sunglasses,
lens,
and eyeglasses. For a really basic prescription, online is fine. There's measurements required. And so the only reason I even launched e-commerce, because I was very anti e-commerce for eyewear. Again, from the optician perspective, making sure the lenses are made right. And there's some lenses that just you have to do in person, because if people have like a really wild prism or this or that, you just need that proper measurement taking. But we developed a process to essentially mimic our in-person measuring capabilities and to be able to do it virtually. So we have a process, it's very manual. So like even an online order with us doesn't end up being like the click and it's going to arrive in my mailbox.
Couldn't put in my doctor's details and my pupillary distance and then hit order?
No, you can, but we're still going to call you. No, so we still, every order that comes in, optician just paired to it, and they follow up with that customer. And even if everything is there, like they said, I have this frame, I have my seg height from my previous optician, I have my PD, we're still going to call them, talk them through the order, and probably still remeasure them with our method, even if they provide measurements, because we want to make sure. And everything is warranted at the end of the day, but the problem is that sometimes people will get glasses that seem fine. And so you think like everything is fine because your eyes can do that little bit of work where something is a little off, but they're doing the work and you think it's fine, but it's not fine, it's wrong. And the measurement is off, whatever, and then slowly you're actually hurting your eyes by wearing it that way.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end of the day, and we have 5 months left of the year, what are you focusing on for scaling and growth for the company?
My primary personal focus is the brand and the production. So we are scaling back up with our wholesale distribution. Through COVID, we had to pause with that between the travel and production and stuff like that. And so we are now building up our rep force again. So we have several boots on the ground at this point, and going back and reopening accounts, showing them the new selection, getting them to bring stuff back in. Ultimately, my passion is to build a brand and to get it out there. And so that's where the majority of my focus is. And
what would your BHAG be? What would you be like, oh my God, if we can just...
I would love to have our stores on an international level, which is a little different from the product side, but it goes hand in hand, because what's going to take us that level is having our product, our own brand. That's my BHAG, to having stores in Europe, Alexander Daas stores.